Good evening. My name is Joseph Sipitz. I'm here for the St. Joseph County Public Library, and it's time for another Saturday night story. Tonight I'll be reading a few clippings from newspapers past, South Bend's past. We ran across these interesting articles when we had a volunteer, Betty Rhodes, who was indexing the newspapers from before 1900 to put into our obit index, which is available and pretty neat if you need to look up when an obit was in order to chase down the microfilm. But we had a couple chuckles over a couple of the things that she had found, and in fact had considered even putting them in the database because they were obits and they were in the newspaper, although one was for a horse and one was for a dog. Seeing as how our summer reading challenge theme is tales and tales, I thought they might be an appropriate entry for here. So with that, the first one is from the South Bend Weekly on the 23rd of July 1892, covering a death from 3 days previous, and I'll read it. Dave, a horse that Mr. James Oliver bought from Mr. Aaron Webster over 20 years ago, died Wednesday of old age at the Oliver Chill Plow Works stables. As nearly as could be learned, Dave was 32 years old and was the oldest horse in the county. I also found this one that was kind of interesting. Duke, the old dog formerly owned by the late James A. Ireland and lately by C.P. Gish, passed in his checks Tuesday under the shadow of one of the trees in the courthouse yard. While we were looking at that, I also found something that I thought was highly amusing, so I guess you're going to hear it. It is also from South Bend Weekly. It is from the 25th of October, 1873. It was a news article. William McMerrifield, our township trustee in Mishawaka, was severely and very nearly fatally injured on Tuesday last at his residence. He was engaged in putting a barrel of wine in his cellar stairs and was standing in front of it when the barrel slipped from his grasp and rolled upon him. He received some severe bruises on the breast and other parts of his body and an ugly gash in his head. No bones were broken, and it is believed he received no serious internal injuries. His friends hope to see him about soon, no doubt, because he has a barrel of wine. Good old guys. The one that amused us most, I'm saving for last, is this one. This is from the 23rd of April, 1879, for an obit from an animal that passed away the day before. I'll read it as it's written. Another aged canine departed. It becomes our painful duty to chronicle the departure from earth of another ancient and intelligent canine, Bill, Eddie Netto's terrier, aged 13 years. He breathed his last yesterday morning about 8:30, and the funeral occurred shortly afterward. Bill was possessed of an almost human intelligence. He had been a faithful and dutiful dog during most of his life, but in later years was shadowed by habits of intemperance. Daily would he visit the saloons, sit under the droppings of the bar, and lap up intoxicating dregs until his little hide was so full that he could scarcely wag his tail. Then he would stagger home, lie down beside the wooden box, and sleep the deep slumber of the drunken. As years passed, his practice began to enfeeble poor Bill, and he was unable to go after his daily dram. Death finally relieved him of all his perplexities, and yesterday morning his bark took its flight. Good night.